Iquitos, also known as Iquitos City, is the capital city of Peru's Maynas province and Loreto region, the largest metropolis in the Peruvian Amazon. It is the sixth most populous city of Peru. It is known as the capital of the Peruvian Amazon. The city is located in the Great Plains of the Amazon basin, surrounded by the Amazon, Nane and Italia rivers. Overall, it constitutes metropolitan Iquitos, a conurbation of 471,993 inhabitants consisting of 4 districts: Iquitos, Punta Belen, and San Juan Bautista. It is the largest city in the world that cannot be reached by road. It is accessible only by river and air. The area was long inhabited by indigenous peoples. The founding date of the European city is uncertain. Spanish historical documents state that it was set up around 1757 as a Spanish Jesuit reduction by the banks of the Nane River. It was named San Pablo de Napianos, and the Jesuits gathered local Napiano and Iquito natives to live here. In the late 19th century, the city became the center of export of rubber production from the Amazon basin and was the headquarters of the Peruvian Amazon Company. The rubber boom attracted thousands of European traders and workers who amassed wealth with the production and processing of rubber. The city was highly dependent on PAC, controlled in the nation by Peruvian businessman Juan Luis Araraña. The operations of his forces in the basin, who kept indigenous workers in near-slavery conditions through use of force and harsh treatment, was investigated by Roger Casement, the British Consul General in Peru. He had investigated conditions in the Congo Free State when under King Leopold's control. His 1913 exposure of abuses of Peruvian workers caused a reaction against the company among the several British members of its board and many stockholders. In addition, rubber was introduced to plantations in Southeast Asia, creating competition that undercut the Peruvian product. With the decline of the rubber industry, many workers and merchants left Iquitos. It was one of the leading cities, along with Manaus, in the huge Amazon rubber boom. During this period, the city was influenced by the numerous Europeans who flocked to it, promoting architecture and cultural institutions from their own traditions. Later in the 20th century, the city and region diversified its economy. The region exported timber, fish and the products, oil, minerals, and agricultural crops. It also derives considerable revenue from tourism and related crafts, as well as bakery, and carbonated drinks and beer. By 1999, the city had consolidated its 4 municipalities. The architecture and historical treasures reflect the colonial and early 20th century European period, as well contributing to the attraction of the city as a destination for tourism. It has become a major cosmopolitan city with strong roots in the Amazon, featuring a complex history and cuisine, Amazonian landscapes, a singing accent, a vibrant nightlife, and a growing cultural movement. In 2012, 250,000 visitors were recorded. More have been attracted since the Amazon rainforest was ranked as one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. Iquitos inaugurated international flights to the main hub of Panama City in 2012 with shared destinations with Miami and Cancun, and its international airport is expected to become one of 6 international air centers of Peru. The city was included in the number 6 on the list of 10 leading cities in 2011 of Lonely Planet. The historic center of Iquitos has several structures that have been designated as part of the cultural heritage of the nation. The Cathedral of Iquitos, the Iron House, the Old Hotel Palace, Cohen House and more than 70 other buildings. Other landmarks of the Plaza de Armas, Giron Prospero, an avenue that is the site of several shopping and historical areas, and the lively neighborhood of Belen. often dubbed the Amazon Venice for its many waterways. The city is also home to the Amazon Library, one of the two most important in Latin America. The city can be reached only by airplane or boat, with the exception of a road to Nauta, a small town roughly 100 kilometers south. Ocean vessels of 3,000 to 9,000 tons and 5.5 meters draft can reach Iquitos along the Amazon River from the Atlantic Ocean, 3,600 kilometers away. Most people travel within the city via bus, motorcycle, or the ubiquitous auto rickshaw. This is a modified motorcycle with a cabin behind supported by two wheels, seating up to 3 persons. Transportation to nearby towns often requires a river trip via Pequapec, a small public motorized boat. History. Early period. The area was inhabited for thousands of years by Amerindians. At the time of European encounter, the Napiano and Iquito peoples occupied the area. They had small seasonal settlements and were nomadic hunter-gatherers, living in close association with the rivers. The city name of Iquitos is derived from a group of native people called Iquitos by the Spaniards. They had previously inhabited areas along the rivers Pastaza, Arabella, Tigre, Nane, and Curaray. Eventually, the native Iquitos migrated to the area around the rivers Nane, Amazonas, Italia, and the Lake Maronacacha. Between 1638 to 1769, the Iquitos and other native tribes of the Maranon rivers were obliged to settle down in various missions founded and run by Jesuit missionaries. For the Audiencia of Quito, the Jesuits settled in the major cities of the Audiencia of Quito, which was part of the Viceroyalty of Peru at the time. During this period of nearly 130 years, 161 Jesuit missionaries worked to convert and educate the natives of the Amazon region. Among them were 63 Criollos, 43 Spaniards, 32 Germans and Dutch, 20 Italians, 2 Portuguese, and 1 Frenchman. The role in South America was to convert the natives of the Amazon basin to Christianity. The Jesuits successfully gathered the natives living along the Maranon River into various Jesuit missions, where they were set to work at farming and other pursuits. Commencing in 1730, the Jesuits took 37 years to found the Iquitos missions along the Maranon River, close to the mouth of the Napo and Amazon rivers. These were collectively known as Iquitos missions, since all these settlements were mainly populated chiefly by the Iquitos natives of the region. The naming and foundation of all the Iquitos missions were done by Jesuit Father José Bahamond. He was born in Quito on January 1, 1710, accepted into the Jesuit order, and served as a missionary for decades. After Charles III of Spain suppressed and expelled the Society of Jesus from South America in 1767, Bahamond was exiled to Italy, where he died in Ravenna, Italy on May 11, 1786. The following is a chronological list of noted Iquitos missions founded by Bahamond and other Jesuits. 1730, Santa Maria de los Iquitos town, founded by Father Bahamond, as recorded in the archives of the Indies in Spain. 1740, Juan Nepomuceno de Iquitos, founded by Father Bahamond. 1741, Santa Barbara de Iquitos, founded by Father Bahamond. 1742, San Sebastian de Iquitos, founded by Fathers Bahamond and Bretano. 1748, Sagrado Corazon de Jesus de Maricanos, founded by Father Bahamond. 1754, Santa Maria de Iquitos, founded by Father Uriart. 1757, San Pablo de los Napianos, founded by Father Bahamond. 1763, San Javier de Iquitos, founded by Father Palm. 1767 San Jose de Iquitos, founded by Father Uriart. Later that year the Jesuits were expelled from South America by order of Charles III. During the Spanish colonial era, most of the Jesuit missions were under the jurisdiction of the Royal Audiencia of Quito. Created in 1563, it was a part of the Viceroyalty of Peru, and was transferred briefly to the Viceroyalty of New Granada on May 27, 1717, known as the Cedula Real of 1717. 6.5 years later, on November 5, 1723, Philip V of Spain dissolved the Viceroyalty of New Granada and reincorporated the Audiencia of Quito into the Viceroyalty of Peru. 16 years later, Philip V of Spain decided to recreate the Viceroyalty of New Granada and to reincorporate the Audiencia of Quito through the Cedula Real dated August 20, 1739. Charles III of Spain suppressed the Society of Jesus, believing them too powerful, and expelled them from South America by order dated August 20, 1767. Given the distance from Quito and the lack of roads connecting to that city, a political vacuum was developed in the area. The undefended Jesuit missions were attacked by the Brazilian bandeirantes. In response, the King of Spain, on recommendation of Francisco Raquena, created the government and Commandancy General of Minas in 1802 to halt the invasion into the Spanish Amazon of land-hungry mestizo Portuguese bandeirantes. In general, this amounted to the religious administration and military command of all tributaries of the Amazon River in the Amazon basin that belonged to the Royal Audiencia of Quito, in the Viceroyalty of New Granada being transferred again to the Viceroyalty of Peru. The Portuguese advance was halted at Tabatinga. 19th century independence. In the early 19th century, following independence, Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, and Brazil had overlapping claims to the northwestern Amazon basin. Based on each country's interpretation of the colonial de jure titles, the disputed area was populated mostly by groups of nomadic Amerindian natives living in the Amazon jungle. In addition, there were semi-assimilated sedentary Amerindians living with a handful of whites and mestizos, dedicated to trading in sparsely populated trading port villages that were found scattered along the river banks of the Amazon basin. During the colonial era, the disputed area known as Minas had numerous missions administered by the Jesuits of Quito. After the Jesuits were expelled from South America, only a handful of missions survived in the 19th century as isolated trading villages. The Brazilians, by contrast, had a chain of villages along the Amazon River that stretched to its ports along the Atlantic Ocean, because Peru discovered that Ecuador and Colombia neglected to effectively control their Amazonian territories during the colonial era. Peru decided to back its de jure titles with de facto possession by setting up military posts in the relatively isolated trading villages and then flooding the disputed area with Peruvian colonists. The only problem lay with the expanding ambitions of Brazil, since it had slowly settled its part of the disputed area with colonists throughout its colonial era. It had a trading relationship with the Spanish-speaking trading posts and villages along the Marañón River. To neutralize Brazil from impeding Peru's planned colonization project, on the 23rd of October 1851, Peru peacefully settled its disputes with Brazil, and both countries agreed to a bilateral free navigation and friendly trade along the Amazon River. As a result of the Peruvian-Brazilian Treaty, the Peruvian president Ramón Castilla created the military and political department of Loreto on January 7, 1861 from the former Minas territory. Castilla ordered that a fluvial port be constructed in a strategic spot on the Amazon River. After some debate, his staff chose the trading port village of Iquitos. On January 5, 1864, 3 steamships of the Peruvian Navy, Pastaza, Prospero y Marona, arrived in the village of Iquitos. This date is marked as the founding of the first fluvial Peruvian port of Iquitos by the government of Peru. A dockyard and navy factory imported from England was immediately constructed. In time, Iquitos grew so much that it was designated as the capital of the department of Loreto on November 9, 1897. Iquitos also became the seat of a Roman Catholic Apostolic Vicariate. Peru was able to map out and assume de facto control of the majority of the area of the Amazon region under dispute with Ecuador and Colombia. After many skirmishes with Ecuadorian and Colombian outposts that at times led to war, Peru settled its border with Colombia in 1922 and with Ecuador in 1942. 20th century rubber boom. Beginning in the 1900s, Iquitos became wealthy through its rubber industry. Throughout the rubber boom, it attracted thousands of immigrants from around the world, mostly young single men who hoped to make their fortunes in rubber. The rise of the automobile and related industries had dramatically increased the worldwide demand for rubber. Some men became merchants and bankers, and made the fortunes that way. Many of the European men married indigenous women and stayed in Peru the rest of their lives, founding ethnically mixed families. The immigrants brought European clothing styles, music, architecture, and other cultural elements to Iquitos. They established an opera house that featured European classical music. Among the unique communities formed by the 19th century immigrants to the rubber boom was one of Sephardic Jews from Morocco. Many of the men married Peruvian women and made families in Iquitos. They established a synagogue and the Jewish cemetery. In the first generation, some of the women and children converted to Judaism, but by the end of the 20th century, 4 or 5 generations later, most descendants were no longer practicing Jews. Most were reared as Catholic. In the 1990s, a descendant of a Jewish settler undertook serious study of Judaism. He began to revive the practice of Judaism among his family, friends, and other Sephardim descendants. After years of study, with the help of a sympathetic conservative rabbi in Lima and another from Brooklyn, New York, eventually a few hundred people studied, practiced as Jews, and converted to Judaism. Many of the converts have emigrated to Israel under its right of return policy. A documentary was made about this community in 2010. Emigration of Peruvians from this Iquitos community has continued. About 150 emigrated in 2013 to 2014. The wealthiest Europeans built great mansions in the late 19th century, some of which survive. Casa de Fierro was designed by Gustave Eiffel, designer of the Eiffel Tower in Paris, after an Englishman smuggled rubber seeds out of the area to establish competing rubber plantations in British colonies in Southeast Asia and Africa. The Peruvian boom came to an end. In addition, in 1913, investigative report by Roger Casement, British Consul General to Peru, revealed the abuses of indigenous workers in the Amazon basin by the Peruvian Amazon Company, owned by businessman Juan Luis Aranya. Its several British board members and numerous stockholders in London were pressured to force changes in operations of the company. Many British divested themselves of this company in an effort to force changes. Aranya returned to Peru, where he remained in charge of the pack. The Asian rubber was soon produced at lower cost and undercut that of South America, and rubber declined in importance in Peru. But Iquitos continued as an important trading port in the Amazon basin. It exploited its timber, oil and mineral resources for export and processing, along with agricultural and other products. 21st century. Amazonian hubbing. On the 13th of August 2012, a special plaque was placed in the Plaza 28 de Julio of the city in a ceremony to commemorate the Amazon River and rainforest as one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. The plaque was forged in Munich, Germany. Iguazu Falls in Argentina has also been recognized as one of these top natural wonders. Geography. Iquitos is located in northeastern Peru, northeastern Loreto region, and in the extreme south of the province of Minas. Located on the Great Plains, the city has an area of 368.9 kilometers (2), comprising the districts Belén, Punchana and San Juan Bautista. It is approximately at coordinates 03 degree 43 feet 46 inches s 73 degrees 14 minutes 18 seconds west to 106 meters. It is the most northern Peruvian city. It is surrounded by the port of Iquitos, formed by the Amazon, Nanay and Italia rivers. The city is situated on the left bank of the Amazon River, which provides a characteristic economic life, including trade and transport. The Italia and Nanay rivers limit the physical expansion of the city in that direction. New development is growing toward the south and there is a slight population density in downtown Iquitos. Close to Iquitos are a number of lagoons and lakes. Moronococha Lake is a boundary to the city on the west. These features make the city seem like a huge river island. Geologically, the city is settled in a tertiary quaternary formation lithologically composed by little consolidated lutites, with remains of flora and fauna, and numerous white sand lenses of abundant silicon. The residual soils are sandy, almost clay-like and variably deep. Physiography is a hazy landscape due to the undulations of the soil erosion caused by rain. Climate. Under the Köppen climate classification, Iquitos experience an equatorial climate. Throughout the year, it has constant rainfall, so there is no distinct dry season, and has temperatures ranging from 21 to 33 degrees Celsius. The annual average temperature is 26.7 degrees Celsius. The average rainfall in Iquitos is 2,616.2 mm per year. Because the seasons are not sensitive in the equatorial zone, Iquitos has only 2 seasons. It has a rainy summer, which arrives in November and ends in May. March and April have the heaviest rains and humidity, with precipitations of about 300 and 280 mm, respectively. In May, the Amazon River, one of the rivers surrounding the city, reaches its highest levels. It falls about 9 or 12 meters at its lowest point in October, and then steadily rises again cyclically according to rainfall. Winter offers a very different climate. Although July and August are the driest months, they have some periods of downpours. Sunny days and good weather are common, with high temperatures reaching 30 degrees Celsius and an average of 32 degrees Celsius. Rainfall is more abundant here than in Ayacucho, Cusco, or Lima. Iquitos also has microclimates. Rain or drizzle may be present in some areas of the districts, while other parts of the city are slightly cloudy or clear. The temperature may vary. The urban climate is slightly warmer than the natural climate, and would be reflected by the thermal sensation. It suffers from a phenomenon called urban heat island, when the city's heat has difficulty dissipating during the night hours due to absorption by buildings and pavement. Natural hazards. The main natural hazard is flooding. In 2012, major flooding occurred in Iquitos, who alerted the population and affected coastal areas and several towns in the metropolitan area, which has a floodable, rainy geography. The floods of 2012 were regarded as the most historic natural disaster to Iquitos to date. Wet weather in Loreto took showers and drizzle, causing damage and flooding in the Loreto region since November 2011. The rainy weather continued until early 2012. and increased the level of water in the Amazon River, wide stream that feeds most of the tributaries in Loreto, up to 117 meters. Since February and March, several villages are affected. 26,000 hectares of farmland are flooded and the water level reached coastal streets of Iquitos. On the 24th of April 2012, the spate faded and initiated the first stage of ebb. Other natural hazards are heat waves where temperatures can reach over 37 degrees Celsius with a heat index of 45 degrees Celsius, which is caused by the low humidity on clear days. Cold waves are also curious in Iquitos. Cold air from the tip of the continent, driven by the dynamics of the atmosphere, comes to town and causes a drop in temperature, moderate rainfall and thunderstorms. The trade winds also come to cause gales reaching 60 kilometers per hour. In October 2012, Iquitos experienced high temperatures and heavy thunderstorms. Earthquakes in the city are very rare and very deep. Iquitos is located in Region 3 of Systematic Regionalization Map of Peru, which means that the city has a low coefficient seismic value. Although the 2011 Peru earthquake, which occurred southeast of Cantamana, was felt in the city as a small and unexpected jolt. Ecology. Due to its location in the Peruvian Amazon, Iquitos has a green landscape with a vast variety of life. The flora is varied with great presence of 850 species, including 22 species of palms and orchids, who provide the attractive forest within the urban landscape of the city. The lilies also present the extensive forest seated within metropolitan influence host fauna with 130 species of mammals, 330 of birds, 150 of reptiles and amphibians, and 250 fish. Within the city, inhabiting the rock dove, especially in the square 28 de Julio, also recorded the transient presence of dewey sharks who come from the Atlantic Ocean, traveling 3,360 miles to Iquitos. The floodplain forest of Iquitos is the peculiar ecoregion which surrounds the city, and is characterized by a vatsaya forest called Iquitos vatsaya. Its alluvial detail is the motive why intense rainy seasons easily reach these areas flood. In the natural cycle, the trees drop their leaves and other organic waste to the soil, and become humus. Rain washes these nutrients into rivers, which gives that blonde color, called tannin. Immediately, this cycle repeats. The great biodiversity that the Iquitos metropolitan area houses and protects is paramount, and that is intrinsically related to its urban planning, which puts a limit action in areas where farms should not be built. Because of this, the appearance of informal settlements is seen as a risk. Natural reserves and zoos. The importance of the existence of nature reserves is a priority in Iquitos for ecosystem protection. The Alpahuayo Miss Hannah National Reserve is a protected area with soaring rates of biodiversity. The reserve is located 20 kilometers from Iquitos, being reached by Route Lo 103. The ecosystem is part of the Nanay River Basin, specifically in an area called Ecoregion Napo, which contains a unique Amazonian biodiversity, including its distinctive white sand forests. The Napo ecoregion contains 112 species of amphibians, 17 species of primates, 1,900 plant species and over 600 bird species. Some ecologically important animals care for the rarity in the reserve: the Supe-Pichico black stump, equatorial saki, ancient antron, Miss Hannah terannulate, Alpahuayo antbird, chestnut-tailed ant, the Pompadour caatinga, gnatcatcher, saffron-crested tyrant manakin, among others. The Iquitos gnatcatcher is an endemic species of the reserve and is considered a symbol of Iquitos. The Tapish Reserve is a private conservation property that employs a strict no-catching, no-caging policy. The abundance of wildlife on this property is a glimpse into how the entire region would have been prior to present-day logging and hunting activities. The reserve strives to educate visitors and locals alike on the most eco-friendly ways to enjoy the rainforest. Due to diligent patrolling and maintenance of the property against hunters and loggers, visitors have the opportunity to view rare and endangered animals in the wild. Species include the Amazonian manatee, the red uakari monkey, the giant otter, the agami heron and several species of large raptors including the harpy eagle, the crested eagle and the ornate hawk eagle. Quistococha tourist complex is characterized by its variety. The place is located 6 kilometers from Iquitos via route as 103, and with their extension 369 hectares of natural forest, has a small zoo, a serpentarium, an aquarium, a nursery and an artificial beach called Tunchi Beach. The butterfly zoo Pilpintuasi is located in Padre Coca, Iquitos, and includes more than 40 species of insects, especially butterflies. Along the butterfly zoo is the Amazon Animal Orphanage, commissioned in animal rescue.